In our modern society, we are all so busy. We juggle so many responsibilities, work to do, people to socialize with, family to take care of, health to maintain, sleep to catch up on. So it's definitely not easy to carve out time to practice a new language. So I feel like language learning has become a thing that's been on our New Year's resolutions for years and years. Because at the end of the day, we all know its benefit and we all kind of fantasize speaking fluently in our target language. But honestly, it feels very daunting, especially with the advance of technology. Entertaining content, program, devices are everywhere, constantly pulling our attention away. But the funny thing is that we all have some time to watch YouTube, scroll through Instagram, chat with friends. What if you can practice your target language? Watch YouTube. What if you can pick up new vocabulary and expressions scrolling through Instagram? What if you can maximize your input and output by doing something you like, you enjoy? Yes, it is possible and feasible. So in today's video, I would like to share how I practice English through YouTube, Instagram, and my friends. But it doesn't necessarily have to be English. You can apply this method to your target language. But before that, I want to talk about why do we try so hard to learn a new language? I think the whole point of it is to use it. Interacting with locals, making friends abroad, consuming contents without the help of subtitles. That would be fantastic, right? Without having to use our body to explain. To reach that point, we need to use it on our day-to-day life. In other words, we want to maximize our input and output. I mean, how we practice our mother tongue. Did we practice it? I think we acquired it. We acquired it by just being exposed to that language almost 24/7. Sure, it's not feasible to live in a country where our target language is spoken, but still, we can kind of maximize our input and output in our own way. Also, what I like about language learning is that it's not limited to certain ways of learning, like sitting at our desk, memorizing vocabulary, taking lectures, studying with textbooks. But it is literally limitless. Anything can be your personalized learning material as long as you do that in your target language, like consuming contents you're interested in, watching videos, listening to podcasts, reading books, or even hanging out with friends. As long as you do those things in your target language, then these are perfect materials for your language learning, which means we can take advantage of our natural curiosities, interests, and instincts. Like every human has their own interests, things they naturally gravitate toward. And when we do the things we enjoy and we like, we focus better, not because we have to, but out of joy and happiness and fulfillment. And language learning really allows us to utilize that energy inherent in all human beings. So I think doing the things that bring us joy, excitement, all these positive feelings is the best way to maximize our input and output. So for me, my interests are yoga, meditation, learning about things like physical and mental well being. As I said earlier, I can incorporate my target language, English, into all of these activities. And YouTube has been playing a huge role in there because I do all these things through YouTube. I do yoga following instructors who speak in English. These are my favorite yogi YouTubers. Honestly, it almost feels like taking a yoga class in an English speaking country, which I would love to do in the near future. Even I've dreamed of becoming a yoga instructor abroad. And I meditate listening to guided meditations in English. Meditation and mindfulness, awareness, those are all about alleviating relieving stress and tension that's been stuck in our mind and body, like with that soothing and gentle, soft voice. So I feel like I can easily absorb the expressions and vocabulary coming through the guided meditations. Because it puts me in the right mindset, I do work better, and it has really positively influenced my life, not just in terms of language learning, but also other areas of my life. So if you haven't tried it, please give it a go. It's like really transformative. Since YouTube is a great source of information, I often watch interviews with experts on the topic of my interests, like self improvement, time management, productive tools, or relationships. Relationships, as in like romantic relationship or the relationship with myself. I'm currently working as a teacher, so I often search for some useful tips and information that I can apply to my teaching, like educational activities or games, anything that could help me do my job effectively and efficiently. And because I never really study English, like trying to memorize vocabulary or reading certain articles that are irrelevant to my life, but just doing stuff I enjoy and I need in my target language, English, my language learning has been really immersive and experiential. People often call it language immersion, which is to learn other subjects in their target language as opposed to learning their target language as a subject. So, for example, when I do yoga, I do it by physically following the instructor's guidance in my target language. So, it involves my movements and my sights to see the guidance movements visually and audio for vulvar guidance. So I get to use all of my senses of hearing and sight. So it's way easier to immerse myself in that language. But honestly, I don't do it in English just for the sake of practicing English, but just to practice yoga. So English is just a kind of a byproduct. Something just naturally happens. So I highly recommend doing your exercise routine and something you do on a daily basis that involves like physical movements, especially for beginners, because it's way easier to pick up vocabulary and expressions and like get used to the sentence structures. Also, meditation as well. Definitely, it's not as obvious and explicit as yoga or like physical exercise because you can like visually see, although they're kind of like active forms of meditation as well. But the guided meditation I often listen to is not that active. It's something happens in my mind. But when we meditate, it's just like, again, with that soft and gentle voice, and like meditation is all about being aware of our surroundings and everything, every textures and smells. We often do it with eyes closed. All my senses become very sensitive. Like even right now, I'm talking about meditation, it just calms me down. So I guess it allows us to use different level of senses in our bodies. So if you listen to guided meditation in your target language, you kind of intuitively understand nuanced and sophisticated expressions. You will see some of the sensation or like aha kind of things without like having to force yourself to understand it. Also, whatever the resources and information I find useful, in order for me to apply the tips to my life, I need to fully digest it and comprehend it. So it's not just me passively watching, consuming videos and contents, but it actually me attempting to put into practice based on the information I consume. For example, one of the most useful tips I found recently is to delegate tasks to students. When I heard it from other experienced teachers' YouTube, I thought it was like very eye-opening because as a teacher, there's like lots of responsibilities on our shoulders, like
teaching, class preparation, and tutoring individually, leading activities and games, rewarding points and not.
after I learned a tip from the YouTuber, I started to incorporate into my lessons. I had them lead games and activities, and even I got them to explain things to their peers. And I saw they really enjoy the autonomy and build confidence by taking on that responsibilities. So, oh, wow, it's like it's good for me and my students. Cultivating leadership is such an essential skill set these days that changed my whole experience in teaching. Also, English wise, me by delegating roles and responsibilities to my students, it's actually me experiencing that word because I took action based on that word, based on that information in my target language. It feels like I get the hang of the vocabulary, therefore, it's gonna stick in my mind for a longer period of time. So please find YouTubers who speak your target language and any content that aligns with your interest. If you're interested in golf and learning Spanish, then find like Spanish golf related YouTubers. And if you're a Korean learner and interested in cooking, then find like Korean cooking related YouTube channels. Do whatever things you enjoy in your target language. Actually, one more thing, the best video format for language learners is a vlog. Vlog is so effective. I think it's better than like dramas or movies because actually there are a lot more things that you can relate to because they're ordinary people like us and you get to indirectly experience their culture as well. So for me, when I started to learn English, I was really interested in Western culture because they speak English. I want to learn English. And like specifically, I was curious about Western girls in their 20s because in their 20s in Korea, we like get a job this way. We have this kind of issues. Our dating culture looks like this, family culture looks like this, and we kind of foster friendships this way. How would their life look like? How do they make friends and how do they get a job and what kind of like issues they go through and navigate their lives. And also, as a Korean, I realized there are so many norms and like beliefs that I had to conform to because of the country I live in. Korea is just so deeply rooted in collectivism. So, like, it's really, I don't think it's that easy to deviate from like certain rules or path that other people follow. But as I exposed to anything international, I became more like liberal and like free from ideas and norms rooted in Korean culture. I found this brilliant, gorgeous YouTuber called Unjaded Jade. I've been following her for 4 years, I guess maybe 5 years. She highly prioritizes her mental and physical well being. So she is very consistent with meditation and yoga. So I often get inspired by her. So I become more consistent with that as well. Also, she is very enthusiastic about environmental and educational issues. She attended also a very an interesting university called Minerva, where students study online, rotating 6 different countries across semesters. So she often filmed vlogs in many different countries. So I got to see other countries through her lens because I just genuinely enjoy her company. It doesn't feel like learning at all. Like I do it, I watch her to relax, to take my mind off work and stress. Because I genuinely enjoy watching her videos, it never feels like studying. Although I'm actively trying my best to understand what she says, reading subtitles and listening to her voice, and whenever she says something I don't understand, then I pause a video and Google the word I didn't understand. And even sometimes I find other usage of the word and then come back with a better understanding of the word to clearly understand what my favorite YouTuber says. So honestly, it feels very effortless to expand my vocabulary with her because she naturally reinforces these positive actions. And when I get it, it feels so rewarding and like, this is what she says. Okay, I get it. I can relate to it. And because I watch all the contents with English subtitles, whenever I find interesting expressions or vocabulary, I pause and screenshot it so that I can review them in the future. Sure, it would be wonderful to add a note but I think it's easier for me to just screenshot and then remember that because I can screenshot it with the picture of the person talking. It's easier to recall. And Samsung Gallery has this brilliant feature. I'm not sure if the iPhone has this, where you can search for words, then it will show the photos that contain the words you search for. So it's very easy to recall the context, who said this. I think, because sometimes I can recall some words, but I don't remember the context of it. Then I go back and find the photos and remind myself of it. That way, you can practice vocabulary, not just the word itself, but through the context, through the stories, through your favorite YouTubers. So it's way easier to stick in your mind. The more you consume content in your target language, this crazy algorithm on YouTube will recognize you as a native speaker of your target language. So it will suggest more videos on the topic of your interest in your target language. So you can get deeper into your interest in your target language. Instagram is the same. Actively like and save contents in your target language. Then again, the crazy algorithm will keep on dumping the contents that are in line with your interest. And if you're already in the habit of going on Instagram by default, then you can increase your input exponentially. But of course, that's not the end. Input is not enough. In order to really improve our language skills, we want to improve our output skills. Speaking and writing, especially speaking, to practically use it. But input is correlated to output. So the more you listen and watch stuff in your target language, the easier it becomes to speak it. So I think the best way to improve speaking by consuming contents you enjoy in your target language is to summarize the contents you just have seen. So for me, I try to make the habit of pausing a video every 3 or 5 minutes and summarizing it. Ask myself, what is it saying? What is the speaker trying to convey? What is the point of this video? It definitely takes more energy and efforts because it's not just watching, but actually retrieving it. That's the point. That's the point. When you try to grapple with it and try to articulate it in your language, your brain fires and wire trying to make that neuron. I know nothing about eu, neuroscience or anything, but it's as far as I've heard, when you're recalling something, your brain is creating pathway, but because you're doing it in your target language, which you're not really familiar with fully, but in your mother tongue, it would be way easier because the neural paths are already strong enough, but not yet in your target language. So you're actually strengthening it, reinforcing it by trying to articulate it. So eventually, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, especially for a little bit advanced learners. They often find themselves using the same phrases and same vocabulary over and over and have no problem with communication. So, but they know kind of like there are like something beyond the expressions there, but it's not really here. But through summarizing exercise, you get to use the vocabulary just learned through the content. So I think that's the biggest advantage of this way. Then eventually it is easier to talk about it with your friends who speak in your target language. With friends, we all talk about things we enjoy, we like. But you know what? I saw this girl on YouTube. Oh, she's so cool. She does this things, and like I learn about this things about the culture. So yeah, if you don't have any friends who speak in your target language, we have these available and well-made apps that help us make friends all over the world. And who knows, you could find your bestie there. I think it's really cool to live in this digital world where we can access anyone living in totally different continent in the world. I'm here in Korea, but I can still make friends living in Australia or New Zealand or America or Africa, anywhere. You don't have to step like far outside of your comfort zone. You can easily text them if you're okay. You can exchange voice notes, or if you kind of want to challenge yourself, you can kind of talk to them on the phone. So a lot of things are accessible in this era. So please make the most out of them for your language learning. And I think it's really cool to learn a new language. I know how hard it is, how daunting it is, how sometimes frustrating it is. I've been learning English. It's been almost 4 years. It never comes easy. I think striving for perfectionism, that's the pitfall. Language learning is not about being perfect. There's no such a perfect thing. Don't pursue that perfect language, but like genuinely enjoy the process. Isn't it really cool to learn expressions that don't exist in your mother tongue? Learning a language that doesn't exist honorific. I think for Korean learners, it's because honorifics and non-honorifics, those are already I'm familiar with. I don't have to kind of like logically think through, oh, this is honorific, and I have to follow this grammar rules because it has like this thing underneath of these letters. I really look up to those learning Korean. So if you have any questions about Korean, then please leave in the comments below. So you got the point. I think I repeated enough. Please do stuff you like in your target language, and then or even with friends who speak in your target language, or do by yourself and summarize that experience in your target language. Again, send all the good energy to your language learning path. Bye.